All right, guys, today we're going to be looking at our place value chart, and the main takeaway today is I want everyone to understand that the value of the numbers on a place value chart are related to each other by powers of 10. So, for example, we see a 2 in the tens place and a 1 in the ones place we see a 6. That number is 26, and we would say that number has 2 tens and 6 ones. We could also say it has 26 ones, but we group numbers based on their place value. That 2 is not a 2, that 2 is 2 tens. If I wanted to set up a problem like 26 times 10, what I can do is I can look at 26 times 10 and think of it as moving those numbers on the place value chart. For example, if I move this 2 in the tens place over to the hundreds place, that 2 is not going to be 2 tens anymore, it's going to be 2 hundreds. And another way to think of that is that 2 is going to become 10 times larger than the value it has now as 2 tens. So we can draw an arrow and say, I'm going to move this 2 from the tens place to the hundreds place. That's another way to show multiplying by 10. I'm going to move the 6 from the ones place to the tens place, and now that 6, instead of being 6 ones, is going to be 6 tens. Now we have to make sure that in the ones place we put a 0, because if I have 2 hundreds, 6 tens, that's 260 and no 1, so 260. So we see that that problem 26 times 10 can be modeled on a place value chart like that. And multiplying by 10 is going to move all of the digits one place to the left. If we're dividing by 10, you guys can imagine what would happen if we divide by 10. Every digit is going to become 10 times smaller, so those would go to the right, and we could use arrows to show division by 10. And if we were to divide 260 by 10, we'd end up with our original number, 26. Now, it's important to understand on our place value chart, in 4th grade we might not have worked with decimals quite as much or at all. This decimal row is not a row on the place value chart, but it is showing that as we move from ones to tenths, we get 10 times smaller. 1/10 is 1/10 the size of 1, and that's why we call it 1/10. The last thing I want to say is if we multiplied by 100, we would move it 2 places on the place value chart. And just as an example, if I wanted to multiply 26 times 100, I would move the 2 not 1 place, but 2 places. So that 2 would move over to the thousands, and the 6 would move to the hundreds. We would have 2,000, 600s, and then we would have zeros in our tens and ones place. So we would have 2,600 if we had 26 times 1,000. I'm sorry, 26 times 100 is 2,600.